call to order at 5:01 the City of Beaumont City Council meeting for April 4th. And we'll start with call to order.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember Roscoe? He's not here at the moment. Councilmember Laura?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Here.
And Mayor White?
Here. And I would assume we have no public comments?
None.
Okay. With that, then we'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session at 5:02. At 6:23, we'll call the meeting back to order. We're returning from closed session. And Mr. Pinckney, do you want to report out of closed session?
Yes. The council met in closed session. Item number 2 was conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Western Riverside Council of Governments et al. Versus City of Beaumont and related cases. Case numbers RIC 1211222, G051840, G050794, and 30-2010-0035-976. There was no reportable action taken on that item. That item is going to be taken up again in the open session. Item number 3 was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 and or 4, consideration of one claim and discussion of possible acceptance, rejection, or settlement of claim. And the claimant's name was or is Arambula, A-R-A-M-B-U-L-A. There was reportable action taken in response to that claim. There was a first by Mayor White and a second by Councilmember Laura to deny the claim, and the council members voted as follows in response to that motion. Mayor White voted in favor of the motion to deny the claim. Vice Mayor Carroll voted in favor of the motion to deny the claim. Councilmember Orozco voted in favor of denying the claim. Councilmember Laura also voted to deny the claim, and Councilmember Martinez voted to deny the claim. And that's the report out from closed session.
Thank you. We don't have any excused absences for action. And Mr. Martinez, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we have an invocation by Jerry West.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Just as a word, I pray to the Judeo-Christian God. I'm not intentionally trying to offend anybody, but that's the only God that I know and serve. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the country in which we live. We are grateful for those who labor among us. We specifically thank you this evening for the City of Beaumont, for the City Council, for the City Manager, the attorneys, and all who labor in this city to make it a safer place. We thank you for the Chief of Police, our fire, and all that labor with them to keep us safe. Now, Father, as we conduct business tonight, we pray for a spirit of order. We pray for a spirit of understanding. We pray for a spirit of wisdom. And we pray for a spirit of grace, that business can be conducted without difficulty, without self-interest, and with the heart of the city at the very, very heart of those who take care of it. We ask you to bless all that is done tonight, that you might receive praise and glory through the goodness and the actions of this council. We ask this in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And Mr. Pardon, do we have any adjustments to the agenda? And any conflict of interest disclosures? All right, we'll move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. Any one person may address the City Council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back table and give to the City Clerk. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the council from discussing or taking actions brought by your comments. Do we have any comments today?
We do.
So let me open the comments at public comment section at 6:27.
First speaker is Craig Chester.
Thanks for hearing me. I guess my 3 minutes starts now. I'm curious what is being done to curb the homeless problem that we seem to have growing in this city. I mean, walk up and down the street, and a lot of these churches, they feed the homeless and then they camp out there, and that's in my neighborhood. I mean, these people have problems. They got mental issues, drug addiction, and if they're committing property crimes to get the money for the drugs, and if they can't get it that way, they'll get it some other way, and it'll just escalate. So I'm just curious what action is being taken to ensure our safety, basically, and because I can't go out there and shoo them away. I'm just Joe Blow citizen, you know. So I guess that's all that I have.
Thank you for your comments.
You don't get to respond, you said?
We're not allowed to by law because it's not on the agendas.
Okay.
So we will address it. Either staff, you left your phone number?
Yeah.
Staff will contact you, or we can address it in the next council meeting once we put it on the
So
agenda.
I can come back and maybe you'll have some way to answer my question then?
Sure, yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Next speaker is Judy Bingham.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. Last night, the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District held a meeting to announce that the Beaumont Basin is in overdraft. And by the way, it's been in overdraft since 1993. And there is not enough a water supply to sustain the current population of Beaumont. This fact has been known for years, but ignored. And they ignored it through the adjudication. The adjudication of the Beaumont Basin, STUMA, San Mateo Water Management Authority, and Watermaster were the product of former city attorney Joe Aklufi, who no longer has a license to practice law and is awaiting trial for fraud and embezzlement. After the raids in 2015, everyone thought Beaumont would stop their illegal activity, but nothing has changed. The City Council has, in the last year alone, approved bond financing to construct hundreds more houses that will have no water supply, no recycled water, fire stations, or adequate roadways. Even though the city has been locked out of the bond market and is under state and federal investigation for fraud, corruption, and embezzlement, the city still plans to acquire millions in financing for the sewer plant, Potrero interchange, and hundreds more houses. Hardy Homes is selling houses without adequate water supplies to people that finance their purchases with bank loans. The housing market in Beaumont is flooded, but Pardee is still building houses because the city is illegally reimbursing mitigation fees with bond funds. Beaumont staff and council, Mike Taylor and Jeff Chambers, happily defraud the individual citizen because they think they can get away with it. But the banks and loan companies will be the one left holding the mortgages, and they will not be so complacent. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, last speaker. I'm sorry, I can't read the last name. Linda?
This is the first time I've been here, because I thought it was a different meeting, but I'm Linda Kimball, and I live at 1420 Yarrow Lane, which is Sundance. And I'm asking, how are we going to find out if they're going to lower the CFD? That's the question. And because you didn't answer, I got it.
We're not allowed to address it, but we did have a workshop last week
Yes.
where we've started the process of reviewing what is possible for us to do.
So I need to look online.
You could, yes, you could go back to the workshop and also keep your ears open because we will be bringing it back for more conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, we'll also be going out into the community on a series of meetings to sit down with neighborhood groups and talk to you about what your CFDs are, what the status of your CFD is, and what strategies may be available.
How do you find the neighborhoods? Like you would go to Sundance and then up and then there?
Each
and-
improvement area we plan to address.
Exactly. So
And how do you meet with us? You tell us by letter?
we'll be trying to reach out through your HOA. We'll be posting those online.
Perfect, because
So-
I'm part of it.
Exactly. So we want everybody there so we can kind of walk through those.
I'll make sure my neighborhood's there.
Okay, thank you.
I've paid it off, so I'm not concerned, but it's other people. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kimball.
No other speakers.
Okay, so we'll close the public comments section at 6:32. And we'll move on to item number 1, Western Riverside Council Governments et al. versus City of Beaumont and related cases, potential resolution of litigation. Do we have any speakers on this subject?
No
We
speakers.
do not, okay. So I'll open and close public comments on this item at 7:33. And Mr. Pardon, did you want to begin here?
Yes, and I'd like to provide an introduction to this and then to walk through some of the key elements of the agreement that we've been working on that you have before you to consider tonight. It's when you go back and look at the history of where the community has been with regard to WRCOG, nearly 3 years ago, back in September of 2014, WRCOG obtained a judgment against the city in the amount of about $67 million. And that was really due to the shenanigans of the prior administration that was here. That judgment would bankrupt Beaumont, as well as really many other cities that are out there. So it really is a critical issue for the city today and on into the future. Bankruptcy is something that would not be a good option for our community. It wouldn't be good for our citizens. It wouldn't be good for the region or for WRCOG. So we really needed to try to find a way to address that and to try to mitigate that effect. WRCOG and Beaumont have come together really in a partnership to resolve this mutual problem that's out there. Both agencies in our constituencies have been victimized, and this agreement does help to share in the proceeds and the other things that are needed to, again, mitigate the impact to our organizations. As we entered into mediation and negotiations regarding the settlement agreement, we had several objectives, and I think we've met or exceeded the majority of these. First, we wanted to ensure that Beaumont citizens were not penalized by the behavior of prior administration. We wanted to avoid future or further impairment to our general fund and to the city and its ability to deliver services. We needed to avoid bankruptcy. We also had an objective to ensure that we could meet our future needs and the needs of our citizens. And probably as critical as anything else, we needed to establish or try to reestablish Beaumont as a good regional partner. We are part of a larger entity and part of a region that's experiencing phenomenal growth, and there's lots of demands that are out there. When we look to address this, there's a variety of cash payments. There's a variety of projects that need to be funded to begin to address this through our agreement. And the majority of those sources are really coming from fees that have been paid to us through developers. They're Measure A sales tax revenues that should we and when we do become a part of the TUMF program again, that those are sales tax new revenues that come in that the city had not previously been recognizing or receiving. And right now, those revenues run about $860,000 a year in sales tax revenues that are collected but don't ever get reallocated to the city of Beaumont. In addition to that, there are potential recoveries from third parties that were involved in getting us into the situation. There is no commitment from the general fund to settle this court judgment. So our tax dollars or other dollars that are coming in are not going to settle this now or into the future. Now, the agreement does outline some projects that need to be completed as part of our commitment. These projects are going to benefit Beaumont. They're going to benefit our residents. They're going to benefit our neighbors, specifically Calamasa and Banning, and the region. The specific projects that need to be executed are improvements to Pennsylvania Avenue. So we're talking about some widening, we're talking about signalizations, and to help address highway access and to help alleviate Highland Springs traffic. Oak Valley, there are some pavement improvements that we need there. We have signalizations, we have some widening, as well as the interchange that needs to be addressed. Cherry Valley and I-10 interchange, we've got some dollars that go towards the design for that interchange and begin to address that. The participation in TUMF, as I said, means that there's Measure A sales tax revenues that Beaumont can begin to recognize. Measure A is supposed to sunset in after 2039. So over the next 22 years of the remainder of this program, we had estimated that Beaumont would generate about $25, almost $26 million in sales tax revenues. The sales tax that are collected are currently shared amongst TUF agencies. So part of that, those dollars are collected. They go, part of them to RCTC, part of them go to the TUF participating communities. Beaumont doesn't currently get its share since, again, we are not part of TUMF. So other agencies have been able to keep those dollars that really have been generated and would have been allocated to our community. This is structured in a way that Beaumont will keep 100% of those TUMF revenues for the first 5 years. We had estimated that that'd be about $4.5 million. Now, it's important to note that those revenues are restricted funds. They can only be used for specific things, and particularly they be used for roadway maintenance and transportation needs. So that's $4.5 million that can go back in to help Beaumont maintain its roadways. Beaumont has agreed to share $9.4 million with WRCOG over time as there's a pro rata portion for the sharing of that with WRCOG. Again, that's additional $9.4 million that WRCOG doesn't receive today because, again, the funds don't come to them. They come to RCTC and then to the communities. We're also looking at assignment of litigation. Again, City Council has stated that they want to make sure the culpable parties are held accountable, and under this agreement, that really is achieved. We have various insurance policies that are in effect for these types of situations. The cost to pursue these claims and pursue these requests of our insurance policies is very costly, and we don't have the financial resources to pursue that litigation. So we have entered into a unique partnership with COG to help pursue the claims against insurance as well as claims against the parties that are out there. The city would receive a share of the recovery costs in excess of $9 million. And the assets and insurance value right now exceed $30 million. The city share the legal fees. We're participating with those legal fees, 50-50, up to $1 million of city allocation. We're also guaranteeing that WRCOG would be able to recover the first $8 million of the combination of pursuing those options. The city's liability for the first $9 million, if any, remains. So if the judgment did not at least hit that threshold, there's an agreement that we pay that off over time. and that we pay that out over $400,000 a year in annual payments. And we estimate that those payments would begin in approximately 5 years. It would be anticipated that Measure A could be the potential source to cover that should it be needed to make those payments. You know, City Council had assembled a very impressive legal team to deal with really a massive judgment. You brought in fiscal and legal experts that looked at this issue and looked for the best ways to try to tackle this. They evaluated many options and many different strategies to try to look at the best options for us, the best thing that we could do to help make amends with WRCOG. All the other options we looked at outside of what we're presenting tonight really required significantly more litigation, and I mean years of litigation. Needless to say, that would result in many more legal expenses. You would have significantly increased levels of uncertainty within the community and within the region as it pertained to Beaumont. And it would cause even more damage to the city and to its reputation. You know, specifically, I think there's a number of people that needed to be recognized and thanked for their participation in working through this. WRCOG certainly is one to recognize, and their staff. They spent lots of resources and many hours with us and our negotiating team. Your consulting team, your specialists that you brought in, Bob Dice with Renee Sloan, Holtzman and Sakai, Michael Bush with Urban Futures, and John Knox and Mark Levinson of ORC, your legal team, your experts in bankruptcy. Our mediator, Judge Mitch Goldberg, who was invaluable to us in this process and helped us to be able to work through some very difficult, complex, and sticky issues. And you've got to thank John Pinckney. I'm telling you, without Mr. Pinckney's guidance and his energy and his assistance, I don't know that we could have made this happen. And you have some incredible staff that were here when things were bad, stuck with it, and set us on the path. So you need to recognize them. Elizabeth Gibbs was here as our interim, tackled this and got us in the right path. She's provided a lot of assistance to me. Amr Jocker, again, came in, tackled, and has been working through the capital and the financing needs that are out there. And Milana Taylor has worked tirelessly to address this in addition to all the other demands that are on her at this time and continue to grow. So all that being said, my recommendation would be to approve this agreement and authorize the mayor to execute it, provided that any final issues coming out of legal review or administrative review be recognized and incorporated. So with that, Mayor, Council, turn it back to you.
We do have copies of the proposed settlement agreement that are here on the table if anybody in the public wants to see a copy.
Okay, they're up here, if you're looking for.
Normally, Mr. Mayor, settlement agreements that are entered into by public agencies are voted on in closed session. We've had several that this council's voted on that have been voted on in open session, and that's been pursuant to an approach that this council's adopted to address major issues like this settlement in open session with the public present and participating and aware of what's taking place and what the terms of the deal are. So it is unusual to do this in open session, but I just wanted to note that for the record.
Thank you. And at this time, WRCOG has already considered this and approved it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's anyone who wants to submit a public comment, we'll open that to questions or comments if you'd like. At this point, are there any questions from council for staff? Sure, Mr. Roy.
Just real
come on up to the microphone, please. We'll give you 3 minutes, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Council.
Sure.
Just real quickly, for clarification, is Beaumont currently a member of TUMF, and if not, could they explain how they become join again? That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Mr. Pardner, Mr. Pinckney, you want to address that?
Yes, the city is not a member of TUMP, and has not been since, I think, 2009 in that time frame. So the manner in which we become part of TUMP again, first we would need to pass an ordinance that would establish us as a participant and provide for our commitment to the TUMP system. In order for us to be able to actually enjoy and execute the TUMP program, we would need to be included into the WRCOG's TUMP Nexus study. So that's a analysis by which the regional roadway system is identified, the needs are established. And then there is a capital plan, which is part of that, of which there's cost for our segments of that roadway system included into the cost for that system. And so with the Nexus study done, us included in terms of project lists and in terms of cost allocations, and then our ordinance, those are the pieces that would need to be done for us to re-engage as a TUMP member.
Mr. Pardon, if we approve this tonight, I understand when we rejoin the TUMP program, but as far as rejoining WRCOG, is that on hold till the TUMP program is in place?
No, we'll be a WRCOG member.
Okay. Is there any other public comments? Any other questions? Mr. Bishop, with the Executive Manager of WRCOG, would you like to say a few words, and if there's any questions from council?
Good evening, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, staff, and city attorney, and members of the audience. I'm Rick Bishop. I'm the Executive Director of the Western Riverside Council of Governments, also known as WRCOG. It's a pleasure to be here, and just want to kind of echo the city manager's comments. This has been a long road, and this is something that isn't easy on anybody, but I think we really are very appreciative of actions by the city council to reach out to us and work very diligently over a long period of time in these settlement discussions. And so it's been good for both parties. WRCOG is in agreement with the terms of the settlement, and we're very much looking forward to having the city rejoin the program and rejoin the agency. So again, thank you very much to each of the council members, particularly the mayor, Councilmember Laura, for efforts on the negotiating committee, city attorney, and the city manager, and all the staff and the consultants that have been part of this. So we're real pleased with the settlement. We're ready to move forward.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to grant the authority to the mayor to sign the agreement after any changes, if necessary, are made.
I'll second that motion.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to read a brief statement now. 2 years ago, when newly elected council members reached out to WRCOG leadership, the negotiations began and were made possible due to the support of Riverside County Supervisor Marion Ashley and the negotiating efforts of Mr. Ben Benoit, Wildemar, Mayor Pro Tem and Chair of WRCOG's Executive Committee, and Mrs. Deborah Franklin Banning, Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair of the WRCOG Executive Committee. Under the prior City of Beaumont administration, the city has failed to live up to its obligation as a regional partner to address transportation funding in western Riverside County and the Pass area. It is time to correct the mistakes of the past and join the regional effort to upgrade our transportation system to accommodate growth and facilitate sustainable economic development. When people travel to work or to shop, they don't, nor should they, care about jurisdictional boundaries. We need to work with our neighboring cities and the region to address our shared challenges and pursue our common interests. This simply has not happened in the past, but it will happen from this day forward. The terms of the agreement require Beaumont to invest one-time monies into TUMP regional transportation facilities that benefit neighboring cities, the region, and Beaumont residents. Facilities such as Highland Springs Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue, Oak Valley Parkway, and Cherry Valley Boulevard. This will largely be paid from city transportation fees collected from developers to pay for the growth. As part of the settlement, the city and WRCOG have agreed to partner in pursuing claims against former city employees, consultants, and contractors that caused and or contributed to the various problems faced by Beaumont. The city and WRCOG will share in any recoveries. By joining the WRCOG TUMP program again, Beaumont will be eligible for a share of the 1/2 cent Measure A sales tax that goes towards addressing local transportation needs. Cities that participate in the WRCOG TUMP program receive a share of those proceeds they can use towards maintaining their roads. A portion of those funds will be provided to WRCOG. Beaumont expects to receive approximately $4.5 million in Measure A revenues over the next 5 years. My fellow council members and I are clearly disappointed with the extremely poor decisions and management practices of the past. We have worked hard with WRCOG to address those poor decisions and to collectively move forward in a positive direction. We look forward to not only becoming a TUMP program participant, but also in rejoining WRCOG so that we can work together with local governments in Western Riverside County to address the many common issues we face. And if there's any other comments by council? Mr. Lara?
I too would really like to thank WRCOG for their willingness to work with the city of Beaumont so that this issue could be resolved in a professional manner. This is a huge step for the city of Beaumont in allowing our city to continue to move forward to a sustainable path to the future. It is truly a bittersweet moment for the city of Beaumont. Bitter in that our city should have never been left in this type of a situation, but sweet in that it does bring another ugly chapter to a close. Thank you.
Mr. Orozco.
I want to start off by, first of all, thanking the council for, keeping stern and having the willingness to solve some of the issues that we have here, especially financially and regionally that we have. I want to also thank, most importantly, WRCOG and the staff there. We truly appreciate the effort you guys made in working with us. In the beginning, it was very difficult to have so many issues on our plate coming into the council back in 2014, but we knew, this council here knew that that was one of the things that we needed to address before moving the city forward. And from the moment we reached out, their willingness to sit at the table and discuss the concerns, and it's just not Beaumont's concerns, it's the region's concerns, Calamasa, Manning, and the region as well. So I want to, again, truly appreciate you guys, thanking you and your staff for doing that, Mr. Bishop. I also want to thank our staff. When I said council, we brought in a good team for our city, and that included our city attorney, John Pinckney, who came into our city right in the beginning, and from that moment on, we just kept on looking forward to bringing in a good team to help us get through this crisis, and then for John Pinckney as well. Todd Parton, our city manager, for continuing our efforts on solving a huge crisis of putting WRCOG issue behind us and working forward into working on our regional needs. So, and finally, I wanted to thank our staff as well. I know many of you have been here for such a long time, and our new staff that has come on board. You guys have all put in a huge effort, and this is a team effort. And again, this is, as Councilman Lara had indicated, this is a chapter of Beaumont's history that we can put behind us and move forward. So I want to thank you.
Mrs. Carroll, did you have anything to say?
Yes, I do want to thank the everyone who's been mentioned, and I also want to thank the negotiating team on both sides. Incredibly difficult situation. The city had the wind knocked out of it financially, and the citizens, they were very fearful of what this was going to do to the city. And it crippled our ability to consider how we were going to serve the citizens. This negotiating team, they worked so hard. It was a very difficult position for them to be in. They worked late into the night. They went back and forth. I can't thank them enough. And I can't thank WRCOG enough for being willing also to come to the table and to realize that it's citizens who have to get on and off the highway, drive around town, get where they need to be. And those were the ones who were really, really behind it all. And thank you for helping them.
Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, just a quick comment also. I just again reiterate the fact that we want to thank all the parties involved for their cooperation, the diligence, and the long hours that it took to get to this point for an agreement that works for both sides on an issue that really shouldn't have occurred. I'm sure the residents of Beaumont will be appreciative as we move forward and close this chapter behind us. So again, thank you for all involved.
And I'd like to say some personal thanks as well. This began when Mr. Orozco and I reached out to the WRCOG leadership a month after we were elected, and was supported by the council at the time. And then we got hit with a lot of other issues that came forward. This became an issue that we just had to set aside for the time being to address the more higher priority issues. And as Mr. Pardon pointed out, if it hadn't been for Mr. Pinckney continuing to keep the channels of communication open and continuing to move forward, I wonder whether or not we would have been here at this time. I also want to thank Elizabeth Gibbs and Richard Warren during their leadership of the negotiating process, as well as all of our staff and our closer, Mr. Pardon, for coming in at the end. But I would like to finish with a sincere thank you to WRCOG, because I believe they recognized not only were our neighbors in our region victims of what Beaumont did, but so were the citizens of Beaumont. And I think they understood that, and this could have gone in a much different direction. So without that support from WRCOG, again, I wonder where we'd be today. I doubt we would be at this point. At that point, I'd like Mr. Bishop, could you come up? We'd like to personally thank you. Come on up here. You don't mind if we take a picture? Thanks a lot. Great, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Nancy.
Oh, you're with the medal. You have to get the medal. You're to be signed at home.
Great.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Sure, you can have 3 minutes, Mr. Castaldo.
Thank you for that graciousness, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Orozco, Mr. Lara, Mr. White, and later on, Mr. Martinez and Ms. Carroll. Thank you for settling this. I've basically been having to keep my mouth shut for 6 years, and I can finally say this publicly. Shortly after I was elected in 2010, Mr. Bishop personally reached out to me, and we met in Hemet with another senior council member. And it has been Mr. Bishop's goal that I know of personally since January or February of 2011 to settle this case. Mr. Bishop made a very, very, very good offer to the city at that time. It was taken back to our legal team, and I was basically threatened with a civil suit, a gag order, never to speak about this ever again, that I was threatening the city's ability to win this lawsuit. And after that meeting, I was told never to speak to Mr. Bishop again, or I would be sued by Mr. Aklufi. Took me 6 years to be able to say this because of that son of a bitch. But thank you very much for settling this. And Mr. Bishop has worked on this, and it was never WRCOG beating up on the city of Beaumont. It was the city of Beaumont being arrogant that they couldn't be touched. Thank you for settling this.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Next up is the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are taken as one action item unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of the action items. Approval of all ordinances and resolutions to be read by title only.
I do have a speaker for number 13.
Number 13? Okay, so we'll pull number 13.
Mayor, can I pull item 10 and 12, please?
Okay. Any other items to be pulled? Okay, so I will entertain a motion for the balance of the items on the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the balance of the items on the consent calendar. That includes item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and second. Can we have roll call?
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. So let's start with item number 10, award of construction contract for four-season lift station discharge pipe replacement project to Welltech in the amount of $60,176.
Yeah, real quick question on that. Looking at there were two estimates on that, Amr, and a huge discrepancy between the two. And so I want to double check and make sure. Did you see any concerns with that, or was just another contractor not reading the bid package correctly, or do you have any concern over the $36,000?
Mayor, council member, no, I do not have any concern. Welltech came out, looked at the site, looked at the plans, and they were very careful in putting the bid package together. So I think their price is more exact. The other company just looked at the package. They never came out to look at it at site. So they may have included some other costs that they thought that they would have to incur. It's very common on projects like this where it's a repair project where you really can't really look into all the stuff until you get going. The people pad their bids to make sure that they don't have to come back to the change order. Welltech, what they did is they did do their homework, so I think the bid is much more accurate. And that's why we decided to also prepare the second one, because we did receive a good bid. So we're replacing both lines. They were both done at the same time, so we believe that there may be damage in the other line as well. So rather than having to come back and redo it at an additional cost, we might as well do it now.
Okay, and that addresses my concern. And the Welltech actually came out. Even gives me more comfort on that. Thank you.
I had a follow-up question with that.
Say it again.
I had a question for that,
Sure,
too.
go ahead.
It was just in regards, and I think I asked you before about this, which is the several other no responses. Do we know why? I mean, I think we're all for a healthy bid, and I'm just curious on why we received many no responses from the other bidders.
Well, several things. A lot of contractors are busy. The other thing is because of the time, we only gave them a certain amount of time. So if people were busy, they will not be able to work on it, then they'd much rather not submit the bid. So it's an urgent project. We only gave them a limited time to respond.
So did we reach out to them, or did we put that out there, and then all of a sudden they asked us questions about it, and then they didn't respond back?
We did both. We reached out to people. We also advertised, and what we got was 2 responses, nobody else. There were some other questions, but people didn't want to respond.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve item 10.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. We'll move on to item number 12, Approve purchase order for Everbridge Mass Notification Service.
Evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
So we have a request before you to continue our agreement with Everbridge system. It's a reverse 911. Many of you will receive those calls when we've had missing children, missing adult, Alzheimer's, dementia folks that leave a care facility or their home. It's also used to alert people of danger. It comes directly from a police department spokesperson. But we enhance the system so that even transit community services can, and they have used the program. So, for example, if you're a transit passenger and you need to leave a certain time before you have to get to the bus stop, but if that route was for one reason or another closed or the bus was delayed, and you sign up to the subscriptions, they can alert you. So there's there's a lot of benefit to the community for that program.
Okay, Chief, the question I have is, do we know how many people are currently using this system?
Well, so everybody in the city uses it in one regards because it goes off of our 911 database, and so we could reach you. You don't sign up for that. We just call you and leave a message for you based on 911 data. But with the subscription service, we're somewhere in the area of 400 to 500. So what it means is, so we have your 911 data, but let's say you prefer to get those messages via email or text to a different phone or a different system, then you just log on, subscribe to that.
Okay.
So you would get it in two systems. Or let's say let's say you live in a different city, but a family member lives here, and you want to be notified when something happens here because you need to check on family, then you can also sign up. You don't have to be a resident.
Do we send up notifications maybe to sign up in a sewer bill or just so that we can, I think it's a great service that we offer.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure that we were really getting the advertisement out there to get folks signed up for that.
Yeah, I don't think we pushed it to that degree at that time because we rolled it out in November.
Okay.
And we had to go around and train the other departments. And so the one thing that we know with people, if you tell them you have a service and you don't know the ins and outs,
right,
or it doesn't work the way they think it should, there's frustration and sometimes they lose the trust and they won't come back to that system. And so we really wanted to have a true understanding and make sure the other department heads do as well.
Okay.
And so we believe we're at that point, and so you'll see the hard push coming.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you very much, Chief.
You're welcome.
Sure, Mr. Martinez.
So, Chief, the 32,000 households, and that's sufficient, then you notice for now?
Absolutely, because currently we're at 14,100 and change on households, and that's 45,000 residents. But, so we could almost triple in size of the city and cover it under this contract.
And the contract states for 36 months. So are we paying yearly that 17.5?
Correct.
And we're locking in for 3 years?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing? Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Carroll.
Could you explain item 2 under contracted services? What are 35 contact paths per year?
Per user. And so.
I'm sorry, per user is what I meant to say. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And so you could have email on different devices,
I see.
texting.
Okay.
We can reach you in many different forums.
All right. And then you mentioned, for an example, about an ability to connect it to transit information if a bus is delayed or whatever. Is there a way to categorize what you're notified of? If I'm not concerned about the bus, then maybe I don't want to know about it, and then maybe I won't pay as much attention if you tell me that. So
exactly,
you know
that's exactly it. So if you want the other department notifications through community services, let's say for example a special event, so we're gonna have the fireworks show, and you sign up for community services, you'll get those alerts. We don't use the mass notification system for other departments. That's only for the police department, and it's for that specific reason that we don't want to spam you. And then we say something important, you're like, you delete after the first 3 seconds.
right, so it's well categorized.
That's
so
correct.
that people don't feel like they get too much.
That's right.
All right. Thank you.
Are we all good?
It's understandable.
I'll make a motion to approve item 12.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. So item number 13, I'll open public comments on that at 7:13.
Ron Roy?
Good evening, council. It sounds like the city is getting itself out of a financial hole, a big one. And so to that, thank you very much. And it sounds like a brutal process for all of you. With that said, we still have a lot of, in my view, very important public resources that will add value to our city as a whole, attract people from outside of our area, and to my property values. And so one of those is a regional park. And I was noticing on attachment 17, and I'm assuming now that everything here will not be touched by the settlement agreement, if I'm not mistaken. All the AB 1600 developer fees will not be, that they're protected. So when I see something, like I'm looking at a number in attachment, 1,230,000, it's protected. It's there to be used. So with that said, I'm concerned because we have to start, this is for facilities and improvements, and I do think there's a need for a regional park, and I don't see where we have anything existing. We don't have any plans showing where one would go. I think, for example, a quadrangle south of Beaumont High School, which looks like about around a square mile, would be a good spot. And of course, you may have to consider the dissolution of the Cherry Valley Parks District, folding that into the city of Beaumont Parks Community Development. I think that the city needs to play a larger role in that area. And we have good examples. Ukaipa has a very good regional park, but it's city-owned. So, who owns what? And I believe that the city of Beaumont needs to be in that position. Another really important area is if you're ever offered land, we had a bad experience in Fairway Canyon. The city had 14 acres of land. We all were sort of trusting the city that it would be for a school site, and they sold it. So my concern is if you're being offered land and it's, let's say in this 1,230,000, the proceeds go for that. I would like to, insist, because I want to be a taxpayer, I want to insist that you make sure that that land's held in perpetuity and it's never going to be subject to a future sale. I just think that it would it creates a chilling effect when good faith efforts are being made to give property to the city of Beaumont for a park. Also, with the regional park, feel free to come up with a candidate sites for that, and also incorporating the Beaumont Master Plan of Trails and the Coopers Creek connectivity policy area. I do think that there are regional connectors, and they will be good components of a regional park system, and connect also with the county parks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Roy, I'm going to use this opportunity for a public service announcement. Today I got a notification that the city now has a general plan website. Did you get that notification?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I was very pleased to see that.
Okay.
And I think there's a June target date for the first public meeting. That's
correct.
Good, very
but
good.
I
Yes.
believe it's also designed so that you can input ideas and suggestions, because I think a regional park's going to be it's going to have to be part of an overall general plan.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, there's none in existence right now that I know of. If anybody in the council knows, let me know. But thank you very much for that. It's good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
No other speakers.
We do another speaker. Okay.
No other speakers.
No other speakers. So let me close the public comments at 7:16. Mr. Pardon, did you have any comments on what was said? Okay. Anyone have any questions for staff? Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 13.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. This brings us to item 22, request of waiver of fees for transit shuttles for the 2017 Cherry Festival. And do we have any public comments on this one?
Yes.
So let me open public comments at 7:17.
Buzz, Stoff.
Hello again.
Buzz?
Mayor, council, we're here again to request waive of fees for the transportation from Walmart to the Cherry Festival and the sports park to the Cherry Festival. Last few, 10 years or so, we've had buses every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, leaving from the Walmart and the sports park, going to the Cherry Festival, dropping them off at the gate, and going back. The parking in the area of the Cherry Festival, Stewart Park, is lousy. And by doing this, it allows people to park in a parking lot someplace else, come to the park, enjoy the day, get back on the bus, and go back to the car at Walmart or the sports park. So what we're asking is you waive the fees for the buses for those 4 days, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of June, to let the transportation department come out there and assist the public in getting to and from the park. We need it. It helps our community, and we have quite a few riders that ride that bus come to the Cherry Festival.
Thank you. I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
In your experience, is the sports park enough parking?
Yes, there's enough parking there and Walmart that relieves parking downtown.
Okay, because I noticed that the high school uses their parking lot for the festival up at Highland Springs, and I didn't know if sports park was enough parking for that.
Yes, we haven't had a problem yet, and nobody's complained about it. So.
Okay.
But we appreciate anything you can do for us.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Is that it?
Speakers.
What's that?
No other speakers.
So let me close the public comments at 7:18. Any questions for staff? Any comments?
Can I make a couple comments real quick?
Yes.
Thank you. I promise I'll be brief.
Okay.
The Cherry Festival, I think, is a very important part of what makes Beaumont special. 99 years, an event, 99 years. Think about that. What has this event seen during that time? Next year is a century. And so this event isn't just an event, it's a community identity item. But in sitting down and talking with our Cherry Valley Festival members, this is a volunteer effort that doesn't just offer entertainment and a fantastic item for our community. It brings back significant dollars. In the past, when they've been able to generate additional funds or have additional dollars, there's been some significant improvements that they've made to our facilities to help, again, our community. So they help students. They provide many other things that are there, and I know they're very low-key about that. They don't really want to brag about those things, but student scholarships, those kinds of things are things that happen through this. And so, again, it's a great opportunity for our community to be special and to be Beaumont and be identified, but it's also giving back, and these are people who are giving back. I believe historically transit has been something we've provided to help make this community event continue to grow and continue to stay viable. We've talked about also the fact that transit is becoming more and more of an important service within our area, but it's also under stress. People don't realize what transit is, or maybe there's a misperception of what transit is and how it's really operated and what it means. And so this is another great opportunity for us to be able to show people what transit is. Beautiful, clean buses, comfortable ride, and really kind of a low-cost option to move around. In addition to that, staff has worked hard to look at ways we can continue to supplement this and lower the effect on the city. So you saw the estimated cost about $2,330, but there are some other grant dollars that we could pursue moving on into next year and to begin to supplement this and make this continue to happen. But my big lead up to this really is that I think there's some additional types of support we should think about providing back to this organization. And there's some significant negatives that they saw in this event over the last couple of years. It could be weather effects, it could be other things, maybe a chilling effect from some of the things that the community had gone through, maybe left some sour taste for people. But we have some, again, restricted funds that come in that can help us maybe help these programs continue to go and continue to happen. You've got your TOT dollars, and they're specifically restricted to the types of uses that we can apply, and this would be ideal for that. There's grant, there's other things that are there. And what I'm suggesting is we really look at some of the additional types of resources, financial and other support that we can have that, maybe over time. It may be covering costs for public safety, for fire EMS, helping to cover transit, those types of things, and maybe some seed dollars to be able to provide out of part of our TOT funds to help make sure that this event continues. Why would we do that? I think my appeal has been on the emotional side, on the quality of life issues, and it's something that makes and he keeps Beaumont's identity special. But the other effect is that it has a fantastic effect on our businesses. And so we're bringing heads to beds. We're bringing people in to attend our vendors, and maybe the first time people see Beaumont, and hopefully they have a good experience with it. So, kind of rolling all that up, and definitely would recommend that we support this request, but also that we need to talk about and look at some of the additional things I think we can do to provide that. And I think part of our budgetary process every year ought to contemplate some additional ways to assist the event. So we roll it into our budget. It's part of our program, and we know that we take a sponsorship role with regard to help keep this event going. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to add to that. I agree. It is a signature event. It's the one that we can talk about when people say, "Well, where's Beaumont?" and we can tell them about the Cherry Festival. I also agree. I think it's the one time a year that people actually a lot of people use our transportation. I think if we take the opportunity of doing something like handing out free passes during that weekend for follow-up rides or something like that to boost that. I saw you have Vince Neil coming and Berlin as well. The last time Berlin was here, it was one of the largest crowds we have, so I hope you guys are ready for that. But that's all I had to say. Any other comments?
No, just
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ditto what you said. I think this is a very important event for our community, and it puts our members and our festival committee that we have here, the Cherry Festival, on the map. And we appreciate your guys' hard work and volunteerism for making this happen every single year for the last 99 years. And it's when I came to Beaumont, it's not just a cherry festival. It's a generational thing, and I mean, you can talk to people here in the community here who've been a part of this committee for such a long period of time, and I want to thank you guys along with the contributors to help make this happen on a yearly basis. So thank you.
Ms. Martinez. I just wanted to thank Transit too for looking at those options that Todd had mentioned. I was looking at over the grant opportunities there, so that always helps kind of supplement. So I appreciate those extra efforts.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I really like to see as much of as we can do in the community are these family events that everyone can attend, no matter how old you are, and still have fun. They're difficult to do. They require a lot of resources. And not only do you help continue that identity for the community of the Cherry Festival, but you provide such a wonderful event for families, for people that don't necessarily have big budgets to go someplace, and the kids can all have fun and no matter what age you are, there's always something to do. It's very well run. You do a great job. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to thank you and the volunteers that put this on. I know there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that, and I know it's a year-long plan. I've attended a few of those, and it's something I've grown up with. So I appreciate the hard work and dedication, and it's just something we kind of take for granted that's just going to be there every year. So thank you very much for your assistance in that.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the transit shuttle bus fee waiver as presented.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. So item number 23, approval of resolution in support of Assembly Bill 1326, retail theft.
Evening, Mayor and Council, once again. So before you were asking Council to authorize the mayor to send a letter of support to the Assemblyman for support Assembly Bill 1326. And so what happened in the voters approved Proposition 47 in 2014, and there, of course, with any bill, there's unintended consequences. And so one of the other consequences of this proposition was the limit of theft and certain financial crimes. The threshold of a felony was $400. And that was raised to $950. And if it's not $950, it's a misdemeanor. The officers can't really book for the misdemeanors in this county. It's very rare that there's bed space or that there's the time to handle those. And so with that, you have sophisticated criminals that are entering our retail stores with calculators, and they're keeping the total of their theft under $950. And so, you know, you add 950 or 949, let's say, for each time you go to Walmart or Kohl's or Home Depot or any of our smaller businesses that can't even suffer those types of losses, and it's having unintended consequences, not only on our merchants, but also on the police department, because then our theft calls rise because they know that there's little to no consequence for stealing. And so we're asking that the mayor would sign a letter showing strong support of Assembly Bill 1326. What that would do is take an aggregate period of 12 months of the $950. And so if they went in January 1st and took 300, and then they did that quarterly, once we hit the 950, then the district attorney can upgrade that to a felony. We could book them, and they would be sentenced appropriately.
Chief, I have a question for you. When I read this, I was also worried about unintended consequences of something to fix something that had unintended consequences. So there was an issue in the bill that I had some concern with. Maybe you can answer the criminal portion of this question. Writing a insufficient funds check for over $950, according to this bill, becomes a felony. Is that a felony now?
Not if the threshold is not past the $950.
But right now, without this new bill, if I wrote a check for $1,100 for my mortgage, hoping that my paycheck was going to clear in time and it didn't, then I knowingly wrote a check that was not sufficient. Am I now a felon?
So let me ask you. So you're asking if you knowingly did
Well,
that?
I knew that there's a chance it might not be. You know, I'm speaking from personal experience, to be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. When I was before I was married, I was not a very responsible person, and I ended up going to a county class about how to not write checks that you think might bounce, and I just would hate to have someone become a felon because of something that I did, which I probably shouldn't have done. But I'm just wondering if now it's a felony at $950, and this is just going to keep that in place, then I'm okay with that. But if this now makes that one issue become a felony, then I do have some concerns about the bill as it's written.
Right. So So you have some crimes that are specific intent, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the insufficient funds is specific intent? Right. So you go to Stater Brothers and you just loaded up the cart because they got you on all the end caps, right? Like they do all of us. And you didn't have the money to clear it. You didn't go in there with criminal culpability. And we're gonna find that out. And the district attorney's not gonna, even if we wrote that up, the district attorney's not gonna prosecute that. It's when you have a culpability, and those crimes are very specific. The intent reveals itself, honestly, in the investigation. But as it is right now, if you wrote a check for $1,100 with specific intent that you knowingly didn't have the money, it's a felony.
Okay.
So this is just trying to keep pace with the criminal that's a little more sophisticated and is doing this in the $200, $300, $400, up to the $800 hits, knowingly that it's a misdemeanor. And right now they're getting no jail time on misdemeanor.
Okay.
Absolutely zero, to be honest with
No,
you.
I agree, and I think it's important. I just want to warn you that when my friends come out tomorrow and say I'm a felon, it was 35 years ago, and
Statute of limitations has passed, right?
well, I served.
City attorney will
I served my. I mean, I paid my debt to society by paying the money back and a fine and taking the class. But I remember back when that happened, and I just wonder if we, I just don't want to set someone up for a mistake like
The
that.
majority of these, Mayor, are handled civilly between you and the merchant or the grocer.
Correct.
This is, these are criminals that have a pattern and practice of defrauding
Understand.
people.
And if the check is what is needed to put them over that 950, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
I just had a question on the bill as well. So there's some discussion, I know, right now, overcrowded jails and stuff like that, and it talks about in terms of now that makes us the felon. Where do you see this going in terms of now we can prosecute? I mean, most cases, do you think that we're just going to go to the DA, prosecutes, and then they're going to release them again, and they continue to do the same thing?
Well, it's hard to say, but what we're focusing on, you got to understand, are the sophisticated criminals, and so they're going to get some serious probation terms, probably their first offense if they're convicted. So they're going to have some accountability to the probation department, to the courts. They're going to be monitored, and also, our job, the whole system is about rehabilitating people, and you have to have a carrot and a stick. And right now, there's no stick in the judicial system with many of these laws that have passed. And so this is just putting a little bit more of a stick back into the system that was there and holding folks accountable. It helps our victims gain restitution. Right now, you could honestly just not show up on a misdemeanor warrant. There just isn't much that we could do. We're going to continue to cite you on the warrant, and you're going to continuously not appear. But in a felony, if you don't show up and answer the judge, you're going to spend the weekend in jail.
Any other comments?
So this,
Go ahead.
so this will address some of the smaller amount repeat problems that you have with, like, stripping copper wire and, where the aggregate amount over a 12-month period is going to get much bigger versus maybe they only get $800 or I don't know what copper wire goes for. But, this is going to address, or mailbox theft or something like that happens repeatedly, but the amount may be smaller.
Right, and the mailbox theft, always
that's
difficult to
fed-
put it's difficult to put a value
Yeah.
on the mail unless there was checks taken in that mail. But you're absolutely right. This is to address people that have figured out the loopholes and are exploiting them at our expense. It's just to keep them more accountable. And this is just a letter of support. I mean, obviously, the bill still has to clear all the hurdles in Sacramento, but the Assemblyman is looking for support on it.
Thank you. I think this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that you'll be coming in front of us again soon for a much bigger correction of those two bills that have really changed the way our society is. But I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to send a letter to the legislators supporting Assembly Bill 1326, which would make it a felony.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll
Yes.
and Mayor White.
Yes, before item number 24, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll get back at 7:45. 7:49. Now we're on item number 24, wastewater treatment plant expansion and salt mitigation final design contract award to Albert A. Webb and Associates.
Honorable Mayor, Council Member, tonight's item is to consider awarding the final design contract to Albert Webb and Associate for design of expansion of treatment plant and the salt mitigation line. The city awarded preliminary design contract to Webb in November of last year for this project. That portion of the project is due at the end of May to the board. Once that's due, we are supposed to start the final design, which is due at the end of the year, and the construction actually needs to begin by July of next year for us to meet the deadlines that the board has put on us. We sent our RFP out in February of this year. We only received one bid, and the bid was from Albert Webb and Associates. The amount of the bid for both projects, for expansion of the plant from 4 MGD to 6 MGD, and for the brine line, is $3,120,600. And the treatment plant portion is $2,380,000, $2,330,080. And then for the brine line, it's $1,090,520. Staff is also recommending adding a 10% contingency just in case there is additional work that's needed, if there are changes requested by some of the agencies that we will be designing the line through, and some of the other stuff as it comes along. And then also, if there's any changes on the contract by the city attorney, any non-substantive changes, we're recommending that the city award the contract to Albert Webb and Associate in the amount of $3,120,600. That's my report. Mr. Knoll from Albert Webb and Associate is also here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
Yes.
And then I'll open up questions for staff if anyone has them. So let me open public comments on this item at 7:51.
Judy Bingham.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. In 1998, the city received a $75,000 grant from the State Water Board to do this very thing. They tried again in 2000 and in 2002. I noticed that item 24 does not mention recycled water, which is the city's biggest ongoing lie since 1993. Also, it was an obligation to the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District, but they never did it. They were never able to produce Title 22 water. Now Webb and Associates wants $3.1 million for a final design for a $95 million sewer plant expansion that is not feasible without producing the preliminary design or the financing plan. I've never seen those. Webb's report lists Beaumont's current capacity use as 3.2 MGD, which is a lie that the experts should know is a lie. A court ruling set capacity determination at 1 MGD per 10,000. Village of Fox River Grove versus Pollution Control Board. The report further talks about increasing Beaumont's capacity needs of 8.0 MGD to 8.5 MGD. There is no water supply in Beaumont to accommodate a population of 90,000, but more importantly, the city is planning on spending millions to expand the sewer plant without addressing and correcting the current problems. In 1993, the city of Beaumont was required by the State Water Quality Control Board to replace the old sewer capacity, but the city never shut down the original 1 MGD sewer plant. They just expanded, which is why the city has multiple EPA violations for the past quarter century. The California Department of Finance lists the population of Beaumont on January 1st, 2016 at 45,118. Beaumont sewer plant is over capacity today. And if Webb and Associates were honest, they would know how to calculate the city's sewer capacity and its structural problems. They've never addressed those.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
No other speakers.
Okay, so let me close public comments at 7:54. Any comments or questions from council? All right, I have some comments and questions. Let me start by addressing what's happened in the past. You know, we consistently get attacks up here for actions that did not take place, rules that were not followed, agreements that were not kept for the last 20 years. And we also get attacked for not meeting the deadlines of the Regional Water Board and moving forward on our time frame and providing the recycled water. And now we get attacked for moving forward on meeting those deadlines and trying to provide recycled water. So those who continue to attack us, you can't have it all your way. There's got to be at some point, you've got to get over the past and say it's time that we just move forward and start addressing what we can address now. So start with those comments. So I'm here. I have some questions for you. When we awarded the preliminary design, I was concerned and raised issues that we were doing it, exigent circumstances. We were doing it without a competitive bid because of exigent circumstances, and that we had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars because we were behind the 8 ball and we had a time frame to meet. And at that time, I was concerned and argued that what would happen, because I was told, well, there would be competitive bidding when we get to the final design. And I suggested at the time that by not doing a competitive bid back when we did the preliminary design, that we put Webb and Associates in a position of advantage towards the final design. And I also suggested, I believe at the time, that it was likely other parties may not bid because of the advantage that Webb and Associates would have being in-house already and being in a position to have a better, we've seen this before in other issues we've had, have a better grasp of what the bid should be, of what the actual cost will be, whereas other agencies that are outside do not. And it's difficult for me to believe that a $3 million design contract we don't receive any other bids. So my question to you is, do we have a problem with RFP process? Can you tell me how or why another design firm would not even care to bid on a $3 million contract? Do you have any idea?
Yes, I think I can address some of those questions. One of the things that we are dealing with is deadlines that are placed upon us by the board. So this is not something that if we had the liberty of designing it and putting it out to bid and doing all the steps in the right time and right manner, we would probably have the preliminary design done, have that available, have 3 months of review time available, put the RFP out, and then give the companies 2 or 3 months to read that preliminary design and to be able to create a bid. Board is only giving us 6 months, 7 months after the preliminary design is done until the final design is due. So any firm, and we did send this out to several firms, when they're looking at it, it'll take them 2-3 months after the May 30 deadline to be able to understand and come up with the plan to address the final design. So then they have 3 months of compressed time to now spend $3-4 million to get the design done. And if they get it wrong, then we will miss our deadline with the board. So I think what we're dealing with In this case, our RFP, there's nothing wrong with our RFP process. What we're dealing with is deadlines that are coming in from the outside that are forcing us first to award the contract that we awarded to Webb and Associates. And again, as you remember, that was based on the order that was received after we were already doing the study itself. So as we were doing the preliminary study, we got the order. That order set things in motion. One of them was deadlines for preliminary design, and then the second one was for final design. Not only that, they're only giving us 6 months between final design, getting the financing in place, getting the rates and everything else in place, and then having construction contract awarded and started in July of 2018. So for $100 million or $80 million project, that snakes the pipe, the line snakes through so many different cities, and a plant that's being revamped from basically ground up. We don't have luxury of time, and so you're looking at some of that stuff. So what we did is we did do analysis of other bids that have received. Now all plants are not same. Every plant has different infrastructure upgrades that they get. But a project like this is roughly 8 to 9% of the total cost. So that's the design cost, including the preliminary design and the final design. So if we look at that at about $75 million, that's the construction cost of this project. We're looking at least $5 million in design cost. So what we're doing is we're doing this thing for $4 million. 3.3 that we're awarding today, $3 million for the design and the contingencies, and $700,000 for the preliminary design and environmental work. So it's in line with the amount that we would pay anyways. What we have to consider here is this a good company? So Albert Webb and Associates, they have been timely in all their submittals. They have provided us with the staffing that we need to get this thing done. So we have confidence that they can deliver this project. And again, we just don't have the luxury of the time to go out and give the companies that 2 or 3 months at a time to be able to bid on a project as complex as this.
So let me understand, you believe that other firms may have looked at this project and said the timelines are too tight for us to be interested in bidding in this project?
I believe that is the case.
Okay, because I've had some problems with this from the beginning. I'm not going to drag up old history, but I was uncomfortable with some of the processes we went through before. But I was assured that it's okay. This is exigent circumstances. You're going to have a chance for a competitive bid when we get to the final design. Couldn't we have put the RFP out sooner? I mean, we knew when the preliminary design was done that we would be going to a final design. Wasn't there a way maybe that we could have put out the RFP a little bit earlier so that, there was less of a time frame issue?
And I do share your concern. So as soon as I have enough preliminary design available, I put the RFP out. So that's why you saw the RFP go out in February, okay. not now or in April or in May. Because what we did, we had to have some scope done to be able to include in the preliminary, in the RFP for somebody to look at. So that's why if you look at the time when we put the RFP out was in February of this month. That was about 2 or 3 months after we started the preliminary design work. Okay. So we did our best to make this competitive, but what we can't change is the deadline of December 31st to have the final design done. So I think that's where the big issue was with other companies.
When will we be seeing a preliminary design?
The preliminary design is due in May to us, and by May 31st to the board. So okay. we're getting all of that stuff finalized. In fact, we are looking at the selection of the equipment that will go into this design, and you'll see that contract coming shortly, probably next meeting, where we'll be selecting the type of equipment that we'll be using to do the final design. So with that, we'll get the preliminary design done. We've started the rate study that would create a financial plan to allow us to finance this. That financial plan is also due in 2018, so we'll have that. But again, we need to get the final design started enough so we can do the cost estimates that we can put into the financial plan and create the rates. So okay. We're keeping it on schedule. We haven't missed a deadline with the board yet. Okay. But again, I do understand, and I agree that we should be able to get more competitive.
Are there going to be future RFPs that we're going to be? I would like to start getting back to competitive bidding on this project. So if there's RFPs for other components of this, I hope we can get those out as soon as possible.
We did put the RFP out for example, for the equipment design.
Right.
So we did that on time, so we were able to get bids, several bids.
Okay.
And we are selecting the most appropriate equipment. We're also going to go out to bid on the actual construction of it. It might be one or two different bids. So there will be time for competitive bidding.
So one last question. When we were discussing this last time, and it was during the preliminary design approval phase, I believe council gave you direction to make sure that you're including the water district and the water agency as we move along in our planning, so that we are working with them, because they're ultimately our partners in this, whether or not they're financially our partner. They are as far as infrastructure-wise. So is that taking place?
That is taking place. We've met with them. Mr. Nolan, myself have met with them. Me and the city manager have met with them. We will be once when the final design is done, we're going to be talking to them, because at the end, the recycled water, as we produce recycled water at the end of this project, they'll be the one taking the recycled water and then selling it.
Okay.
So we're going to provide them with the final design, the equipment that we've picked, how we're going to operate it. They'll be able to look at our preliminary design as well, and then also they'll be part of.
And when you say them, you mean the district as well as the agency, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have some timing questions.
Sure.
Now, you just made a statement a little bit earlier where you said, we need to get the final design so that we need to understand what the full cost estimates are on what this will do. So we won't know. The final design isn't really due, I don't believe, till December 31st, correct?
That's correct.
So, and yet the financing also has to be, or venues for financing have to be pursued or talked about before that. So isn't there going to be a bit of a timing issue if you're not going to find out what the costs are until the final design, and the final design's not due till the end of December, and then you need to know then what you have to do going forward? And am I misunderstanding the timeline?
You'll get periodic cost estimates. And so by the time you get to 90%, you'll be able to have a pretty firm idea about what those cost estimates are. But you will see like a 30% estimate. So we'll get a rougher cut. But remember, when we did the original analysis, one of the things that we commissioned was a rate analysis that looked at what the rate implications were, looked at some modeling with regard to how we would possibly leverage debt, sell bonds to be able to do this in the manner that that would happen. So those issues have already had a look based on what the preliminary estimates were, based on very rough cut analysis done by Webb and Associates. So as they actually get into the plant design and begin to look at the specific types of equipment, what type of improvements, what kind of site-specific issues are there, then they can begin to dial in a much more specific project cost for us. But we already have a rough idea about what the overall financial needs for this project would be. And ultimately, those are estimates. We won't know what the final price is until we get our bids in. So,
okay. And then another question is, so if it's after December 31st, and you say that we need to then, or before that, actually get ready to put out for RFP for construction, what is the timeline that you expect to be able to do RFPs for construction, assuming that we get the plans on schedule and we actually have a way to finance?
The RFP or the bid packages would be ready in December as part of the final design. And we will, once we approve them in January, sometime in January or in February, we'll be able to put them out to bid. It'll take about 45 days to bid it, and then another 30 days to review the bids and negotiate with the contractors. So we'll be able to be back in front of council April or May of next year to award the design contract. So it'll take about 4 or 5 months to go through that process. And that would actually start in January and then, lead up to the construction in July.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah. On the brine line, just a little concerned about the Bryan Lane. Do we anticipate any issues with any of the municipalities trying to, because I know the permitting is going to be coming in the final design part of it, correct?
That is correct.
So right now, we haven't really done any negotiations or anything with.
We've reached out to the agencies. We've looked at several alignments. We're going to be presenting that in May to the council on what we found. But overall, we're keeping it in the right of way. So as long as it's within the right of way and there is room in the right of way, the only thing we have to do is go to the agency, for example, another city, and ask for a permit. And they may put conditions on that permit as to how much paving they would like us to do, or what is the condition would be for us to use that right of way. But we're not going through any private property where there's right of acquisition or there's other issues with that. So keeping it in street, and also for environmental purposes, it's much easier to keep it within the street right away.
And my last question was, when we approved for the parking lot to be paved and so forth, is that before or after construction? I mean, does that seem kind of backwards to go and get everything nice and neat and then come in with construction?
Yes. So that is correct. There's two parts to it. We did a layout of the paving to look at where all the paving needs were, and then we're matching it with the design that's done by Webb & Associate. What we're trying to do is move the office out, because that's where some of the equipment will be going, and move it to the front. We also are putting in a parking lot in the front, and also putting a gate, because right now the gate is not secured. So we have a security gate entering into the site. Also, we're going to pave some areas out where there will be equipment traveling as part of the construction. So we're in anticipation of doing that. Once all that is done, we'll do a final paving as part of the other project. But we're taking care of some of the issue. The other issue is we're parking some of the cars on gravel and on unimproved area, and it's much better to park them on top of pavement. So we're providing paving for that and also parking for that. So we're not completely doing the whole plant. We're doing a portion of the plant. We're relocating the building and adding the gate.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Can I get a copy of that preliminary design?
I think they're gonna bring it back to council in May, is what Amir said.
It'll be available in May.
Okay.
For public and council.
Any other questions for staff? I have one last comment. The reason I bring up the competitive bidding is because for so many years, a lot of people would not even come and bid in Beaumont because they believed it was a closed shop, and that, I've heard from a number of, nothing to do with water, but a number of contractors and consultants that would not come to Beaumont because there was no reason to bid here because they didn't have an opportunity. My concern is, when I saw this, was that we were going back that direction. So I just want to let you know that I'm going to vote against this item because I don't believe that we have done our best to have a competitive bid. But I want, Brian, for you to understand that I understand that Webb & Associates is a respectable firm and that you have a lot of experience, and this is not a vote against in any way saying that I don't think you can do the job. But I just want to send what message I can that we want to see some other bids in the future. And at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve an award of a professional service contract for the final design of the wastewater treatment plant expansion and salt mitigation project to Albert A. Webb in the amount not to exceed $3,120,600. And also approve the contingency cost not to exceed 10%.
I'll second that motion.
I want to ask that you also, as part of that motion, make it subject to my final review. I'll work with the city manager. I want to review the contract, and we may need to make some. If we make changes to it, we'll bring it back to you for final approval.
Then I'll amend that motion to add a review by John Pinckney and approve the final contract at that time.
Are you okay with that, second?
Accept the motion, the amended motion.
Thank you.
We're ready for roll call.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
No.
Mayor White?
No. Now we'll move on to item number 25, League of California Cities Conferences.
one of the one of the policies we have in place is travel policy for council, and really needing to look and get some authorization for travel-related expenses, to address continuing education, conferences, those types of things. So we have the annual conference that's coming up for September here, 13th through 15th. Registration isn't open yet, but it will be open hopefully very soon. So we'll have an idea about maybe who wants to go and what days. But with that, we wanted to go ahead and get some idea and some authorizations for council to go ahead and commit if you want to. Nicole has provided you some estimates in terms of what the cost associated with the attendance at these would be per person. So again, we just wanted to, I think, pursuant to council direction, get a chance to discuss this, look at what's there and begin to plan it out, and get y'all's authorization so we can make arrangements.
Do we have any public comments on this one?
None.
Okay. I'd like to go first here with a comment. I think we should try to attend these. When I went to the annual conference last year, I've been to a lot of conferences through my employers, and I think it was a really beneficial time to not only go to the sessions, but also to speak to other council members and mayors from other cities and get ideas, and to make to bring back to the council. And when I left that, I recognized that there were some cities like Calamasa and others that had most of their council there. So I sent you an email to see if there was any kind of volume discount. But when I look at the 4 items here, the annual conference is 3 days of classes, and there's so many classes that you can't go to them all. And I think there's much bigger value, even though the cost for the conference is higher, that there's a much bigger value for council members to attend that. And if we're able to get multiple council members there, we could split up the classes we go to and then come back and share with anyone who wasn't able to make it. But I looked at the other councils. I mean, they look good. I just think the value of 3 days of conference, the airfare's not a whole lot different. And I just thought we should consider focusing all going to the annual conference, which would be my recommendation. So I wanted to start with that discussion because I know that Mr. Lara and Mr. Orozco have both been to the annual conferences. And I don't think, and Ms. Carroll and Mr. Martinez, I think you definitely should go to that one as opposed to the other 3 alternatives. So I wanted to start that with, open up the discussion on that. Any comments?
You're talking about the
September 13th to 15th? Yeah.
I think that's a very good conference. Things change. I mean, like professional development for anybody. It constantly changes. You got assembly bills out there. You got things that affect. Some of us are on committees. Being a delegate, there's constant things that are going on through just our region that to get educated on, and our just region alone, we try to get as much updates as we can, and it's very challenging. When I first got elected, I know we were going through a lot, and I try to keep abreast on what's going on in terms of our region and through the League of Cities for our area, and it was just overwhelming. I know, at the time, Mayor Lara went a couple of times, but it was a lot, and they gave a lot. There's a lot of committees involved. There's the budget committees. There's the legislation committee. Like you said, there's a lot. You can't get through all of it. I know we saw a couple of times. Last time I went, I paid it out of my own pocket. It was quite expensive. But I think it benefits. And me too. I agree with you. You see, there's times where you see the whole entire team. You see, their whole council members, and you see their city manager there.
Police
chief as well. You see their whole group there, and they're a team, and they break it down. Everybody knows where they're going, before we go, before they go, I asked them how you would go about, all going, and they indicated, well, what we do is we meet before we leave, we do an agenda item, and, the agenda is we go and get educated, and then we open it and we close it, and we get back, and that's how it's usually done. And it's inspiring to see their team there. It's inspiring because, I've gone the last couple times, and sometimes I'm the only one there. And when the mayor was there last time, when Lloyd was there, I felt a little bit of connection that, we represented,
Sure.
So, I would like to see everybody go on these, I think September 13th one. I think that would be a good idea. Mr. Lara?
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be a benefit, especially for our new council members. But I also think it would give us an opportunity to network as a group. And I think if we do anything, that the annual conference would be the one that we should plan on attend.
Do you, Mayor, for clarification, you're going to talk about the other ones too in a bit? You're going to go one by one? Or?
No, I personally went and looked at the agendas and schedule, but if you have ones that you want to recommend or bring up, that's where the discussion should go.
Okay, so when I had mentioned this last time to put on I was referring to the Monterey one.
Okay.
That was closer, but I didn't know we were going to talk about the Sacramento one. But I'll start with that first. So, I'm all for education. So I do believe the only way to really grow as a council member is to attend these workshops. They seem invaluable. I haven't attended one yet, but being compared to the educators forums I go to as a teacher, they really help you grow in your position. And I've looked at their topics, and it looks like there's valuable information there that you just have to get. And so I would be interested in September,
Okay.
as well as the June, but September.
Okay. Ms. Carroll, any comments?
I think that committing to one, which is the annual one, is a really good idea. I think it's a good idea because there's always a cross-seeding of knowledge that happens when you have multiple members attend, and I think that one would really be a good one to commit to. The Monterey one is very interesting. I think that the city manager may be interested in doing that one, and maybe some of the council members, but I'd like to really push forward with the annual one.
So do you have direction, Mr. Pardon, or should we vote on, do we need to vote on this?
No, I think we have direction.
Okay.
We don't need action, do we?
No, just clarification of that it was a consensus.
Yes. I think you should try and make it too if you can. I really do. But
get your face out there.
All right, so we'll move on to number 26, approval of a joint comprehensive analysis for the city of Banning and Beaumont.
Back
You want me to take this one?
Well, let me lead up.
Okay.
And unless you would like to go first.
No, you go for it. You go for it.
So back in 2014, there was a comprehensive operations analysis that was conducted by a company called TMD. They're a consulting company that specializes in transit studies. That was funded through RCTC through a grant process or an allocation process. That analysis looked at really two basic elements. One was an existing conditions analysis that said, hey, what does it look like today? What are we dealing with? What does our ridership look like? And then it included a recommendations section for service. That recommendation section then looked at where are we going, what trends are happening, what do we need to do. The study contemplated Banning and Beaumont really as an integrated service, although we're two separate and distinct as part of the pass transit area. And then there were specific recommendations that were contemplated for Banning specifically in their report, and then for Beaumont specifically in our report. So one of the issues when you go back and look at that analysis, there was a a series of assumptions for 2035 population growth and build out. And really what it showed is going right at the heart of Beaumont and all the way up through Cherry Valley as the primary areas of residential development and growth. Well, that's not really how our pattern looks. I mean, sure, we've seen central, but it's gone east and west. And so, so really there is a need to go back, I think, and reevaluate those studies. It doesn't show any development on Highland Springs, so it doesn't contemplate any growth really along that corridor, nor does it really contemplate significant growth in Banning. So, yeah, needless to say, the assumptions that were done, back then, 3-4 years ago, are significantly different than reality. So that's a critical issue for us to think about. One of the issues that the state is facing is that transit overall is down across the state, 7 to 10%. And the state has cut transit allocations this year by 7%. So our allocation coming out of RCTC is going to be at least 7% lower to begin to absorb that reduction in allocation. So it's really a critical issue. And so we need to really look at updating our comprehensive analysis, recalibrating based on actual growth and demographics, readjust our assumptions as it's moving into future development. But the other aspect is that Beaumont and Banning are integrated. We have to be integrated. We've got retail and services on our side. They've got retail. They've got a lot of our social service and governmental offices on their side. So our cities have to work together to begin to address that. And recently there's been concerns, that Banning has had about our services crossing over into each other's jurisdictions, and a concern that, hey, by us sending routes into Banning, that they are losing fare because we have certain fare thresholds to meet in order to be able to qualify for allocation. Y'all had discussed and authorized two members of your body to begin to meet with Banning on a 2x2 basis, and so we haven't had that first meeting yet. That will be forthcoming. But there has been a mayor-to-mayor meeting, and some additional conversation needs to go from there. So it's a setup, sir. I turn it back to you.
Perfect. We actually did have a 2x2 meeting scheduled for last week. Debbie Franklin and George Moyer were going to meet with us. Debbie Franklin's mother passed away, I believe it was the day before or a couple days before. And so the 2x2 basically, for that reason, as well as a couple other reasons that Mayor Moyer had presented to me, we canceled the 2x2, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity of at least starting the conversation. So I sat down with Mr. Moyer, and I'm going to tell you something that I'm sure you all know, is that there's still a lot of trust issues between Banning and Beaumont. And when we have problems between the elected officials getting different stories from their different staffs and then trying to sit back and solve it, it doesn't work. So they were a little uncomfortable with the 2x2s because of the Brown notice. Their legal team says that they don't need to do it. Our legal team says that we should, and of course we're going to follow our legal team. But they did agree to put on their next agenda item a resolution, the same that we have here, where we go to RCTC, submit a grant for them to fund a study that'll be a joint study presented for both cities. And then once that study is completed, assuming we get the grant and move forward, then we will have a 2x2 with full public participation. And then, so at this point, we're moving forward. Mayor Moyer has asked me and to bring Elizabeth and meet with Elizabeth's counterpart, just the four of us, just to sort of try and break the ice and get things rolling. And so there's a lot of issues that there's no reason to go into at this point, because I think the study, they had their own opinion of the study. We had our opinion of the original study. So I think they're agreeing to doing a joint study with us and then coming back for a public discussion about it is the right direction. So I hope that you will support recommending the council action. Any questions?
I've got one.
Okay.
So, Mayor, what happens if we don't get the grant?
Here's my problem, and I expressed this to Mayor Moyer, is that he's not a transit guy. I'm not a transit guy.
Right.
And we need a place to start, and we need to start with a study. So if the RCTC doesn't approve a grant to do it, I still think we need to do it, and I think it needs to be a joint study.
Okay.
And we'll address that if RCTC doesn't do it. But I personally would think that, we wanted to, the plan was the 2x2 would start with the old study.
Okay.
And we'd bring it in, and that would be where we'd start a discussion point. And because of their not a lot of confidence in the old study, that they didn't want to start with the old study. So we agreed to start over.
Okay.
And try and address those issues, because if you look at the routes and the number of vehicles and the fact that we're growing our side of Highland Springs and they're growing their side of Highland Springs, it's important that both cities are willing to serve customers to each other's businesses. So I think they want to move forward too. I just think it's the old, no one trusts Beaumont. So I think we're making moves towards that. And I think this is a big step in that way.
Okay.
I need to clarify that. WRCOG trusts Beaumont. So anyways, I'll entertain an option at this point. A motion? I guess we just recommend action?
I'd like to support recommending that we go ahead with this. I have attended a lot of the Transportation Now meetings, and many times it's come up that there's been undecided things. I don't really want to say conflict, but let's just say it's been undecided or unclear, or the direction isn't always clear on how we handle that crossover where there's so much need off of Highland Springs. So I think it's really, it's always beneficial to clear the air, and I think this will really clear the air on what needs to be done.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Good question.
Sure.
So are we talking about RTA or the Pass Now Transit, or are we talking about just transportation in general, like roads and access? And
We're talking about Pass Area Transit.
Pass Area
Bannon
Transit.
lines
Mhm.
and Beaumont lines.
So-
The big problem that came to us is that they believe that our buses are cutting into their fares along Ramsey Street.
Your fare box. Mm-hmm. And so when you say we're going to apply for a grant through our RCTC, you mean RTA, you mean?
No, it was suggested me to go to RCTC.
Okay. Because I know RTA also does those kind of grants.
Okay.
And I mean, I was going to share that, my share out, but we had a session, both the budget and our meeting our last meeting, we talked about there's possibilities if it's has to do with transportation within especially our cities, that there are grants possible, and they have a department that is geared specifically to go out and help cities like ours, or like Beaumont and Bannon, because it's a dual one. If we both apply, there's a possibility we can get some money there too as well as an option. So,
do you mind looking into that and getting back to staff with what you know?
And I know Elizabeth's familiar with it, and
I said we've already been in touch with them as we started this discussion dialogue of 2x2, and the need to go back and do that. So yeah, so that's already in the works.
Okay.
So we're covering that angle.
Cool. Good. I'll let you do it.
Okay.
I don't need.
We're good. They're on top of it.
I don't need to jump on something that you guys already jumped on. So
we're ready for a roll call.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Carroll?
Yes.
And Mayor White?
Yes. Item number 27, consensus of city council meeting dates during the summer months. Discuss and give direction.
Okay, so we've got a holiday coming up this summer. July 4th is Independence Day. It's also a regular meeting date for us. In the staff report, you'll see we're showing you our regular meetings we have through the summer. So June 6th and 20th, July 4th and 18th, and then August 1st and 15th. So we really need to contemplate what you want to do for your July 4th meeting. I think recommendation would be to go ahead and cancel that meeting. So knowing ahead of time, we can schedule things in. If there's public hearings or other items we need to work with, we can take care of that, work around that. The other issue is that we really need to think about doing our State of the City address. Typically, I think we've done that in the spring, April, May timeframe in conjunction with the chamber. We've had so much stuff up in the air. We've got financial statements we're trying to finish out end of year. In addition to, we've had outstanding litigation issues to try to negotiate. So we really don't know that we had a clear picture of what the State of the City really was. Tonight's decision was a big step forward from being able to put that together, allow us to go back and begin looking at the update to the workout plan and those types of things. So Mayor and I had visited quite a bit about maybe instead of trying to do that in April is really try to look at doing something in July or August. So we've got new budget, we've got all those things established. And so another element of this was to really determine if a State of the City schedule for that August 24th date might work with the chamber. What we would like to do a little bit differently this time, not everybody can get to a chamber luncheon and attend the State of the City. But it's an important element for the chamber, and it's an important part of our relationship with the chamber that we should continue to do that effort. So really contemplated a two-step process. One is to work with the chamber, try to do that luncheon if they'll still have us. And then the other was to look at some sort of evening presentation. They won't be the same presentation, but to provide and afford the opportunity for people to be able to come to the luncheon if they want to, or to be able to come to an evening event and do that. So I didn't know if Banning was doing it that way, but
No, Banning just does theirs in the evening.
in the evening, okay.
And then they invite people to come in, right? Or is it not? Afternoon. Afternoon. But they invite people to come in, and it's free, yeah.
Well, yeah, we want everybody to be able to come if they have an interest. So anyway, so recommendation was terminate to July 4th, look at, that August timeframe to see if we can schedule that and make that happen.
Yeah, and let me add a little bit to that. The problem with those afternoon ones is that a lot of people who work won't go to it.
That's what I'm saying.
They do them in the afternoon because city employees from other cities can go to them and still be on the clock. That's my opinion, but.
I agree. I just don't think.
But it's what we talked about with the evening was more of a town hall atmosphere where we provide beverages and refreshments. And then after doing the same presentation we did at lunch, we would have department heads and different staff members there available to answer direct questions. Hopefully, we have some issues to brief the public on with general plan progress, the Belarus progress that we have. And we thought that August would make the most sense, especially the end of August, because there's already 5 weeks in August this year, and our last council meeting's the 15th. And I think if we do it in July, there's still a lot of people that are on vacation, and once school's back in session, I think there'll be more people that'll be back in Beaumont and may attend.
August 24th is a good date.
Yeah. So we'll see if if chamber can meet that schedule. So is everyone okay with would you recommend one meeting in July and skipping the July 4th meeting? Did you have a recommendation for that date, just our regular second or
Yes,
fourth,
yes, sir.
third?
Right, we do the
Tuesday.
regular, so we'd follow up with the regular meeting on July the 18th.
Okay.
Yes.
We just discuss and give direction, which I think we've just done that. Okay, so we'll go to council reports. Any volunteers? Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Short. The RCA meeting for April was canceled, so I'll be attending the RCA meeting for May for the next one. I attended the Vietnam Veteran Ceremony on March 30th. It was a very moving event, very very well-deserved tribute, and you know, the testimonies from the servicemen and women were very touching. So I wanted to give thanks that I appreciate that I was invited for that event. And I attended the taste of the pass event at the Four Seasons. It was my first one, and it was real nice to see the local vendors there and kind of the pass area, and I met a lot of people from surrounding cities and Banning and stuff, and it was just kind of nice to kind of join there. So I wanted to mention that as well. That's all.
Thank you. Next. I'll go next. I also attended the Vietnam Veterans. I wasn't aware that March 30 now, I don't know, was it a state proclamation as opposed to federal? I think it's state. It's Welcome Home Vietnam Vets Day every year on March 30th, because a lot of us didn't have the opportunity to welcome them home or didn't make the ability to do that. So I agree with Mr. Martinez. It was a very moving event. Taste of the Past was outstanding. There were a number of restaurants I've been wanting to try, and we got to go to the Hung Jury, Tap Station. So there was a number of really good restaurants. On Saturday, I attended the VFW Veterans of Foreign Affairs Community Awards, and one of our police officers, Officer Alejandro Marquez, was honored as the Beaumont Police Officer of the Year, and I think he was well deserving of it. And then actually, I mentioned Debbie Franklin before. She was a Community Service Award winner. So that was a good afternoon at Sun Lakes. And then on yesterday, the Anthony Martinez Memorial, all of us were there, and that was another moving event. So my last 4 days have been pretty busy, and I think I've seen most of you at all of those events as well. Next, Mr. Lara.
Sure. Yeah, I attended the Anthony Martinez. I'd just like to thank Bob and staff for putting on having that set up and the way that you did it. It was very, very nice. In regards to, I know I was going ahead and follow up on the facilities with the school district. Just to get a little bit more direction from council, would you like me to have somebody here to explain the facilities use agreements, why they use them, and what the intent behind those is, or?
Well, let me update you on something. I went to a band festival my daughter was in at the high school, and the rugby clubs were holding a huge tournament. They had, I think, 40 teams come out, and they were all at the high school. They had all the fields of the high school, and they got a really good reception from the principal and from Mr. Davis. So I was really excited about that. And then I heard that the AYSO has their Cherry Cup Festival coming up at the end of this month. I believe it's the 24th, 25th. It's that weekend. And they also reached out to the high school because they don't have enough fields at the sports park. And the high school also opened up not only all the fields around the pools and the gym, but at the stadium as well. So I called and didn't get a hold of Mr. Davis. I left a voicemail and told him that I really appreciated his working with our sports team. So I think we need to build on that, and if we need some kind of agreement, I'd like you to make sure that you relay my thank yous to the whole school board, because it was something that I pulled up to rugby, and I was just blown away. And so, anyways, I think it was a great step. So, if we need to formalize that relationship, then let's do it.
Okay, I will follow up on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Roscoe.
No, yeah, it's good. I mean, I know they've been doing that for a while now, and that's I think rugby's becoming a big sport here in Beaumont, and
it is.
We've have some teams. We have one team that actually went all the way to a national. So
I was at a rugby game with Mr. Pardon, and he couldn't understand the shape of the ball.
Oh yeah, yeah, I was there. I was there too. I saw you at the festival.
Oh, okay.
So I figured that's right. You didn't want to see me again, so I figured just kind of hide in the back, helping the kids set up. But yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think seeing our community utilize its space that we have, I think it's important that we do so and start build off of that, and also look for future production in terms of more space availability, because we're at that point where we are a family community and we're growing and we need more space. We got to look at that hopefully in our planning stages. Just real quick, I kind of gave some updates already. At the last meeting at RTA, they talked about some of the improvements that they're doing regionally on some of their stops. Their goal was they put a huge investment into some of the outdated access for ridership, and their focus on making sure that they're responding to a lot of the riders. Their goal is to get as much feedback as they can from the ridership and making improvements based on that. A very responsive team, RTA, on the riders, and I think everybody there at that team is very committed. We've got, RTA, like I mentioned before, by some of our council. Many of the employees there have been there for, and their management over, they've been in the business for over 30, 40 years, and they know what they're doing over there. We have one of the most successful RTA transportation organizations in the state and the country. But they talked about opportunities for grants, and I specifically asked because one of the biggest questions that I know we have to do, and Elizabeth has shared this with me, we in the pass area, and I talked to Todd, we mentioned that too, is here in the pass area, we're going to be, more and more. I know I've experienced it because I do commute. I know, Mayor White commutes to Redlands, but you see more and more the 10 freeway get more and more congested with traffic, and our streets are becoming more congested. And the one thing that we do lack here is community, regional, an effect in terms of solving our problems. And I know I have been having good communications with Art Welch, who sits on that RTA, and as well as Melina, who sits on it for Calamasa. And the same thing we've come across is we need to work better on bringing home such grants so then we can, effectively serve our riders, because they're the same riders. They're the same riders that go from Calamasa to Banning, Cabazon, through Beaumont. So, and ditto with the Martinez. I think that was a great. We saw a great turnout there, and those are the things that brings our community together and strengthens our community, and it gives me confidence with our police department and how we respond to such things. It makes me feel more confident about raising my kids here in Beaumont. So,
thank you. City Treasurer report.
I have nothing to report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot a council member, Mayor Pro Tem Carroll. Sorry about that.
Thank you for being brief, Sharon. Appreciate it. I'll try to be brief. Anthony Martinez Memorial thanked the staff very much and the police department for doing such a wonderful job, and there was such a good turnout. It was very beautifully done, and the memorial is lovely. So it was, thank you for all your work on that. I attended the Taste of the Pass. It's my third year in a row, and it gets better every year. So that's good. Looking forward to next year. I went to the talent show over on Brookside at the middle school and was a judge at the talent show. It was great fun. I was a fill-in for our city manager who was stuck in traffic. But I did my best. It was really it was a lot of fun. My kids took part in talent shows, so it was kind of reminiscing to go back and do that. The 91 toll lanes, they had their big ribbon cutting opening celebration, and it went very smoothly, and the toll roads are being The new section is being heavily used, and the traffic pattern, I've gone through a number of times, and it's already seen an improvement in the traffic pattern because of the toll road. I want to mention the Women's Club. I'll be mentioning it at the next council meeting, and I'll have more formal information for you. They're doing their 100-year anniversary celebration in May. So it will be held on Saturday, I think it's May 23rd, but I'll bring the information into the city. And I think we should be supportive of them. They've done such a wonderful job of quietly doing what they can for so many charity causes in the city, and they do an excellent job of raising money for it. So that's it. Thank you very much. Oh, I did want to mention I should have mentioned this earlier, my vote on the Webb and Associates. Again, it had nothing to do with the progress that they've made so far, but I do want to really do as much as we can assertively, always, to go out for RFPs. We need to really make sure we change the image of the city, and that's really, when we did this for the accounting firm for our auditors, we actually had to call people because we didn't get enough response, and we had to recirculate the RFP. So I think we need to always have plans to be as assertive as we can on getting RFPs and responses. Thank you.
We've already had the city treasurer report, right?
Mayor, I do have a public comment.
Oh,
for
okay,
city
sure.
treasurer.
Let me open public comments at 8:50.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. Our treasurer is still unable to give a report. The excuse? They still haven't closed the books. For 2 years, Nancy Carroll never gave a treasurer's report. So is our treasurer ceremonial only? What's with this? What's going on?
I'll close public comments at 9:50. City manager report.
Yes, sir. So let me see, what time is it? I have about 3 hours to fill, I think. So,
Oh, I had 9:10. We're adjourned for that.
First of all, I did a Google search during the break, and the mayor was married at the age of 10 and had his first checkbook at the age of 8. So he has a little youthful vigor in writing his checks at that time. And we will.
That's fake news.
We will do a background check, sir, before we bring back any
All right.
police-related items in Sacramento. We had received a report, I think a very good report, in our last special council meeting or workshop on the CFDs. And so we are working to pull together a schedule that we'll try to get to you and out into the community on where we're going to try to outreach. And we're going to try to zero in on a subdivision by subdivision basis. So, focus on Sundance, focus on Four Seasons, focus on Fairway Canyons, and try to get that out. So we'll be reaching out to HOAs and trying to find ways to try to get out there and meet people and address with them what their CFDs look like and where we're going. So that is in the works. We're working through that. So that presentation team will include city staff. It will include Urban Futures. It will include Piper Jeffrey, as well as Forbath. So we'll have our team there to present and try to work through these issues with everybody as we go. With that, I turn it over to Amr. He's got some project report updates for you on other key efforts.
Mayor and council members, just on Pennsylvania Avenue Interchange Improvement Project, we did receive a letter from Caltrans, which gave us a project number. That means we can proceed with this project now. We've also attached the letter and the layout that we think we'll be designing for this project. RFPs for this project are out, and I am getting a lot of calls from consultants that are interested in putting bids for this project. The first phase of it would be to actually start designing the interchange, the off-ramp and on-ramp on the interchange. We're also going to be looking at widening the Pennsylvania Avenue from 6th Street to 1st. On wastewater treatment plant, we did award the contract tonight for the final design, also for the paving project. And again, all the reports that are required by the board have been submitted on time. Brian Knoll, at the end of my presentation, will have a quick update on where we stand with the preliminary design. On Highland Springs and I-10 sewer issue, we're doing the final repairs. They should be done in the next couple of weeks. On CDBG street rehab project, we have completed 12th Street sidewalk. We're working on the 11th Street, and then the next one is 9th from Palm to Michigan. On Beaumont and Oak Valley, we are putting a left turn signal. The poles have been up. We believe it'll be operational in middle of April, that signal. On 8th Street sidewalk improvement project, we did award the bids tonight. So that's another street that'll be getting sidewalks later on. I believe we start at the middle of this month. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian for a brief update on preliminary design efforts so far.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. First off, on behalf of Albert A. Webb Associates, we appreciate you authorizing us to continue and your support for this project. We look forward to working with you and successfully completing this project. Just by way of some of the highlights of what we've been doing, some key things that have happened over the last month or so. We went and had a meeting, a really good productive meeting with the regional board. They want to meet with us regularly to make sure progress is happening, get status report on things. And so we did go meet with them. A couple of things that we talked to them about of note were the upcoming pretreatment program that's going to need to be implemented for the city. We talked to them about plant capacity and what's happening. They want very frequent updates on where the plant is from a capacity standpoint. So we reported to them that current flows were around 3.2 MGD of the permitted 4.0 MGD capacity. So that's consistent with the growth projections and flow projections that we'd given them several months ago. So we monitor that on a monthly basis and report that to them. And so that was, it's keeping pace of where we thought it was going to be. Again, just gave them an overall project update, status of the preliminary design. And we did discuss with them what your current discharge permit, it talks about recycled water and where discharge points are. We did discuss with them what the requirements would be if the city was interested in doing groundwater recharge. And so they've indicated that they would, as part of the permit update, that they would give what those requirements would be. And then the city will just have another opportunity, another option as you look at what's the potential use of that water. So they were open to that as well. On another front, with the brine line, we did go and we've had productive conversations with SAPA, and we met with SAPA staff, the members who are in charge and oversee the brine line operation. And we've submitted to them all of the required or requested documentation for the city to request special permission to access the Inland Empire brine line. So we've submitted everything that they've asked for. So their staff took it to the SAPA Commission, and the commissioners unanimously supported your guys, the City of Beaumont's application to Orange County Sanitation District to get permission to join and discharge into the Inland Empire brine line. They had very complimentary things to say about the city and encouraged all the general managers from the various commission members to do what they could to be helpful. And they were sympathetic to the sort of the plight that you all have faced, and asked for the general managers as we go around looking for capacity, that if anybody has capacity that they can sell, that they would be encouraged to do so. And so then on that front, the The general manager, Celeste Cantu from SAPA, sent a request letter to the general manager of OCSD requesting that the city of Beaumont be given permission to connect to the brine line. We're waiting for a response from the general manager from Orange County as to whether or not they were going to support that. But the indications from SAPA staff were that they thought that it would be received favorably. Their discussions that they've had with Orange County Sanitation District, they believe that it would be received favorably. So we're waiting to hear. We believe it. We're hopeful it's going to come back with a yes, and then here's the conditions, which we're expecting, one of which we've already talked about is the pretreatment program. And so that's going to be a big thou shalt do on their list of conditions, which we're expecting. And so that's gone. So we've also been working with SAPA and with Valley District, San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. San Bernardino Valley is the operator of the brine line in that section, and they have been very helpful to us in identifying a willing seller of capacity in the brine line. And so there's the beginnings of discussions of what that agreement would look like and kind of how much capacity, but we have identified a willing seller, which is a really positive step. And so also with regards to the brine line, as we've been working through the alignment issues and discussions about where do we go, how do we get our way down to San Bernardino, we've met with City of San Bernardino, we've met with City of Loma Linda, we've met with City of Redlands to discuss, hey, this pipeline's going to be coming through here. What do you anticipate would be conditions, requirements as we make our way through here? And wanted to give them a heads up that, you know, what the city's planning to do. And so those meetings have been fruitful. They've been, you know, while they're not official permits, we don't have requirements yet, we're getting a flavor and an idea of what their requirements will be. And also they won't be surprised when as we further this project and we come to them to talk to them about permit requirements, they won't be surprised as to kind of what's happening. So that's good. We've also recently met with your staff to finalize the alignment of the brine line. There was some questions about should we go this way or that way, and capacity and pipeline size and things, and we've come to agreement with your staff on what those all should look like. So we have capacity, size. We've pretty well settled down on a final alignment. There's a couple of tweaks where we want to look at. Your staff had some really good input about down when we get into San Bernardino. There's some streets we may want to try to avoid. So we're looking at some real fine details there of kind of the final alignment on a few streets. But we've probably pinned down well over 90% of the proposed alignment, just down to a few streets here and there that we're looking at options. So from a CEQA standpoint, we're evaluating all of those options so that whichever one is selected finally will be in your approved CEQA document. So all of those are being evaluated as part of the CEQA process, the different alignments. On the treatment plant, as I think Amr indicated, we just did receive, I think 2 weeks ago, we competitively bid the membrane equipment and the RO equipment for the treatment plant, and we received several bids on each item. So we're currently evaluating that and putting together a life cycle analysis to evaluate. It's kind of technical, but we need to look at each vendor will guarantee a certain permeate and a certain reject percentage of water that will have to be disposed of in the brine line. So we have to factor that into downstream costs of disposal in the brine line. So we're putting together a full life cycle analysis that we'll be presenting to staff hopefully next week, and then our goal is to bring that back to you, I think in 2 weeks, to give you an update of what it is and have you approve that selection. And then we can move forward with that vendor to design specific around that equipment for the treatment plant. You won't be asked to pre-purchase the equipment, so you're not going to authorize, you know, a really large contract for purchase of equipment. Those equipments will be assigned to the contractor but they will be specified. The contractor can't change them. We've picked, the city has selected that, and that will be part of their bid, and they'll be required to use that. And the pricing that was bid will be included in the bid document, so it'll be a fixed number. But it'll really pin down the design and help us move forward in an expeditious and very specific manner. So with that, I think the bottom line is we're on track to submit the final or the preliminary design by May. I think there's upcoming a presentation workshop kind of that we want to work with city manager and staff to bring that back and present it to you all. But I would say that nothing significant has really changed from what you've seen when we went through the feasibility study and other presentations. The final alignment of the pipeline has shifted a little bit as we've gotten better utility information. We understand where the available corridors are for the pipeline to go. We've had to shift around a little bit, and the footage of pipeline has extended a little bit, but we're pretty close to what you guys have seen previously. And so nothing has substantially changed, and we're making good progress. So if anybody has any questions, I'll take them. If not, then...
Any questions? Go ahead, Mr.
No,
okay.
he answered a lot of them, so.
Okay, questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For the update.
That was a good update.
So now we move to the city clerk report.
I don't have a report per se, but I do have a concern about the web portal licenses. Almost always, I'm locked out. And that's been rectified if I come downtown. You know, if I come here, I can get on the city computer and access the web portal. But from home, it's often locked out because of too many users already in there. And I understand that IT can kind of clear that up, but that would mean like every half hour they need to go in there and clear it up. My question is, could we possibly look into a few more licenses so that the public can access records that they're looking for online? And I think that would go a long way to help people when they're, you know, asking questions. And if they can't get to see what they want to see, that makes it difficult.
Sure.
That's.
Can you look into, are we using all the licenses we've purchased, or?
Yeah, we'll evaluate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I do have a public comment on this one also.
Oh, you do? Okay. I'll open public comments at 9:06.
Judy Bingham, 115, Minnesota. On the city's website, it states, Laserfish, the site, was created as part of an effort to increase accountability to residents. We hope it improves your access to information, as well as your knowledge of how to participate in public discussion. We welcome your comments on this portal. Please email your comments or suggestions. Well, here's my suggestion. Council doesn't want to spend another $300 so we can get on the very thing it was intended for. My public record requests are supposed to go on there so I can see them. It's very frustrating. I have begged, asked. You can see the date on this, March the 10th. You know, there are lots of things here that haven't been answered. Number one, I want a copy of the full general ledger for fiscal year 2016. Now I've been told by Nicole that that's not available. However, a report was submitted to the state controller's office, and I got that. So why isn't this general ledger available? I want it, and I want it as soon as possible.
Ms. Bingham, what $300 did the council not want to spend for the portal?
I heard it cost $300.
But I'm just wondering, when we said we weren't willing to spend what was necessary for the portal.
Well, do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just asking you to verify your comment for me. Thank you. I'll close public records or public comments at 9:08. Any other comments about the clerk report? Did you have a question, Mr. Martinez?
No.
Okay.
It also might just be that people log in and then just leave it open on their computer and aren't using it. Sometimes, too, people just need to be encouraged to log out after they're done with it. I don't mean the public. I just mean if people are just sitting with it open.
All right. And now we move to the city attorney report. Mr. Pinckney.
We'll have I have nothing detailed to report this evening. We'll have the list of pending litigation matters in the next agenda, minus the WRCOG matter. Give your action tonight.
And any future agenda items to be discussed? Who had 9:10? I had 9:10. I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:10.